Have you ever been super excited to share your offer or your product or your service? Maybe you went to a training or you just got done working on it. You went to convention. There were big announcements. You were so excited. And then you get back home and you're like, I don't really know how to talk about it. If you freeze when you know that you should be making a move, it is likely because your fear of sounding pushy and spammy is winning the day. But I want you to know, and I mean this in all sincerity, it's not you. It's your open. It's your open. And today we're going to fix that. It's very simple to fix. We're going to fix it fast. Hey, I'm Genevieve Scory, former sales exec of a $350 million brand, coach to tens of thousands of women. I've set up conferences and trainings all over the world, and I am your straight talking sales coach who wants you to grow without the ick, because I know the impact that you want to create matters to the world. This is Fix This Grow Fast, a podcast where we talk about one thing every single day, every single week, every single day that you can fix that will accelerate the growth of your business. And we're in a series, honestly, one of my favorite conversations, sales advice about how you can sell without sounding pushy or spammy. And spoiler alert, the answer is your personality. When you bring your personality into the conversation, when you show up as you, as people expect you to show up, that becomes your competitive advantage. But because so many people right now are out there creating courses and content and online this and that, and honestly, there has never been a better time to have your own business. But almost nobody wants to talk about how to sell without being weird. So if you haven't listened to episode 7, I would tell you, listen, when you're done here, take a lap back to episode 7, because that's where the conversation starts. And the context of this will make more sense, but stick around because we'll still take you through a brief recap. So we know for sure that when you're an entrepreneur, you have two choices. You can either wait for business to come. And a lot of people think that that's how it works. They think like, I'm going to hang my shingle and then people are just going to knock on the door. Oh, I wish that is how it worked. So you can either wait for business or you can go and find business. Now, one of those options is going to drain your confidence and your bank account. The other is honestly going to grow you spiritually, emotionally, professionally, and also financially. So choose wisely. The number one reason, however, despite what I just told you, that people decide to wait, even though they're super excited, is because they don't know how to say what they want to say, how to start the conversations they want to start without sounding pushy or spammy, which are two sides of the coin. Same coin. Now, I'm a big fan of consent-based nervous system sales, which means that you're going to use safe scripting so that your brain doesn't freak out when you go to use it, so that your prospect's brain doesn't freak out, and that you and you and them, you and they both feel really safe in the conversation. Because when there's no safety in the conversation, when the nervous system starts to freak out, they're going to bail. And you need them to stay in the conversation. I fully believe that so many people are not even getting a fair shot because they're using scripts with really crazy openers. So you don't want them bouncing, you want them listening. So we're going to zoom in here on the opener. Now, in episode 7, we talked about the OCAIN method, OCAIN, for creating and modifying scripts. We also talked about how every line in the script has a job. And if you don't know what that job is, listen to episode 7. But if you don't know, if you can't identify what the job is, it's got to come out of the script. I have seen some scripts, y'all. I have seen some scripts that literally look like, War and Peace. I'm like, nobody's got time to read all of that. And when you're scripting, it's very different. Like there's no algorithms. The goal is safety and connection. and relevant. You don't have to keep them hanging in there longer to get their attention. As a matter of fact, that's not even part of this first equation. But this is where the opener, the most important part, is where most people just, they do it badly. It's not your fault. I really believe nobody's ever actually taught you this, even the people writing the scripts. So here's the job of the opener. The opener has one job, and that's safety and relevance so that they read the second line. If your first line trips those "I'm being sold to" alarms, you're done. You're done. They're done. And for those of you that are talking all the time about how you're getting ghosted, 9 times out of 10, it's because of your opener. So let's start with what isn't a great opener, because I know you will recognize these. Your red flags look like things like, "Hey girl," "Hey friend," "Hey babe," right? They also look like "would love you to," or "I would love you to," or "you need to." Followed behind quick question. Are you open to blank? That's not an opener. You can use that somewhere in the script, but that can't be your opener. Also, fake urgency can't be your opener. So closing in 24 hours, once in a lifetime opportunity, those cannot be openers. And here's why, because I'm a big fan of helping you understand the recipe. They miss because they're too generic. And some of them can be self-centered, and some of those were pretty pressure coded. So if it doesn't create safety or relevance, you don't want to use it as your opener. And openers are very simple. There's 4 simple ingredients to a really good converting opener, and that is context plus warmth plus permission plus the micro purpose. So context tells them, why are you reaching out to me personally, emphasis on personally, and why now? Context is usually created out of what I call a trigger event. Your job, if you don't want to be spammy or salesy, is to nail this. You've got to name the moment in their world that makes your message timely to them. This is always about them. Then you're going to add warmth. You're going to have those "I see you," no judgment, the human and not the hype element of the opener. Because I'm a big fan of, if you don't want to talk to me, fine. Okay, no problem. I don't want to talk to you either, because part of what happens here is we drag people through conversations when if we literally just ask them, is this something that you're wanting to evaluate? Is this something you want to do something about? Is this something yes or no? Like, you want consent. It's permission-based selling. So you want consent to proceed. Why? Because I'm a big fan of let them off the hook. Like, I will ask you if you want help before I pitch my help to you. Like, are you wanting to do something about this, or do you have this all figured out? And then followed up by a micro purpose, which is the tiny, tiny commitment, the tiny reason that you're in their DMs, in their emails, or in their voicemail. So, like, I want to share this 2-minute idea with you. I want to offer you this 1-page tip PDF. I have a quick recap for you. Maybe I have a 7-day sample. Those are all very small commitments. And what aren't we doing? We aren't asking them to buy in the first conversation that we have. This is why this matters to you, because your brain is a tricky little sucker. He really is. And the psychology of this is, I want to know that it's safe to talk to you. I want to know that you're not going to do the things that make me upset with working with salespeople who are bad at selling. And a lot of times I've seen people lead with their own achievements. Like, hey, I'm going for a contest. Hey, I am X amount of orders away from my next big whatever. Hey, like it's me, 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 and I'm inviting you to help me. It needs to be switched the other way. Now, it's not like those things don't get you a quick win, but they really don't build trust and they're not trigger events. So your life and your things are not trigger events for them. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? And I love that for you. If you're out there going for the thing and you're having your best month ever, love that for you. But it's a terrible first line. I'm just going to say it's terrible first line. And we start where they live. And just to be clear, you can win all the things by doing this. And as a matter of fact, when you get really good at this, you're going to win even more things than you can even imagine. So trigger events are super easy to spot once you create some intention to watch out for them. Remember, when you can identify for them and articulate the why me and the why now, that's the trigger. And you can find them in their content. What did they post? What did they say? Did they email you something? Did they say something in a podcast that you were listening to? Did we have a real life conversation? Did we have some interaction via text or DMs? Also, calendars and seasons can be really great trigger events. School starting, weddings, movements, like I'm moving across the country, deadlines, season shifts. Those are all trigger events. And then, of course, people who are changing roles, maybe there's a price update. So look for changes to use as a trigger event. And last but not least, complaints. People love to complain on social media. They will tell you in conversations like, I'm tired. I have no energy. I'm so upset with my weight. My clothes don't fit. I hate my job. My marriage is in shambles. Like people will complain. Those are all trigger events. So I highly recommend that you keep a little journal and that you keep track of these conversations or use a CRM, but you want to, as part of your day, be so in love with your prospects, so in love with your doing, so interested in their lives that part of your strategy on a day-to-day basis is to look for people's trigger events. Now, you can also, fun fact, you can also spur your own trigger events through social media strategies like, comment fit for your size guide or vote for your biggest bottleneck. You can put like a poll together, reply X and I'll give you blah, 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 right? So that's all a green light. When people reply to those things, green light. But two caveats. You can't run those things all the time because they totally lose power. And also, this might be controversial. Random likes to me are not trigger events. Like if I posted about my dog or you saw me drinking something and people are like, oh my gosh, they just liked it because maybe they like you. Maybe you said something funny. Mm, that's a weak signal to me. Like if trigger events had yellow, red, and green lights to them, I would say just a like on something that I didn't specifically say, like this to get X. I would say that's a yellow. And what you're really looking for is greens. You're looking for greens. Okay. So now that you have their trigger event, this is where you come in. And this is where episode 7 helps, just FYI. This is where you come in because you're not going to simply acknowledge the event because you don't want to sound weird or salesy, but you're going to acknowledge it in a voice and from a reference point that they are like super already comfortable with, because that's how you show up online. This is reason number 765 why you want to show up online if you're going to be DMing people or messaging people. You've got to be in that community space to use that avenue. I love for people, like, honestly and truly, to hear my voice, because I feel like if you hear my voice, then you understand my energy, you understand my heart. It's very clear that I'm calling for help. Sometimes if you write people emails or you DM them, what happens is they're going to interpret that from their mood or their vantage point, which I just don't want to leave that up to a bad day. So I'm a big fan of voice notes, voice text, Zooms, all those things. But if you like DMs, that's okay. You're just going to get good at figuring out how do you show up in your DMs that are more like you. And in episode 7, we talked about your authentic sales DNA guide, which is like the thing that no one else can compete with. Your authentic sales DNA are the things that make you you that no one can compete with. D stands for your distinctive traits. N is your natural communication style. And then we have aligned values. When I show up, I have aligned values and match points. So that tells them about me and what they can expect when they deal with me. Like, for example, I'm no fluff, no hype. That's part of my values and match points. And so I'm looking to work with people who, same. Why? Because I can't do fluff. I just can't do it. And when I do it, it sounds weird and cheesy. And you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever read somebody else's script and you're like, that's not me, I can't do those things, you know that you don't have aligned values and match points. But as you're writing, you might take on the persona of someone that's like a calm guide. Or maybe you're more of a hype person. So here's your quick win. Here's the energy. Maybe you like data. Maybe you cast a vision of the person they could be and the results that they can get. All of those things will be brought out for you in that sales DNA guide. So those are in the notes below if you haven't picked that up yet. So your shared values belong somewhere in that first line. Something that you're saying should help them understand, like, same. Because when your words match, then their nervous system says, okay, we are the same. We're the same. And this is safe. So let's put together a sentence together. You've got the event and you understand your match points, your voice, and we're going to build a one breath opener. And yes, one breath. It needs to be short. So remember, it's context, warmth, the specific help you want to offer, consent. So let's say I saw somebody say something in their story, and I'm a big fan. Like, a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to cold DM people. If you have a relationship with people, it really isn't a cold DM to approach them about a specific trigger event. If we are not friends, if you do not know me, if I am trolling my friend's friend's account, that to me is a little bit closer, a little bit closer to being weird. I don't do that. I mean, you can do that, but I will tell you the results for that. And some people are cut out for that. The results for that are pretty low, and you have to take a lot of rejection. That's why I'm a big fan of consent-based. So I might say something like, I saw your story about your business and your continual no-shows. Ugh, I've been there, right? So let's break that part down really quick. What was the trigger event? It was the story about the no-shows. And how do I add warmth? I'm saying I've been there and like, ugh, I feel you. I feel you. And then I might say, I have this 2-minute idea that will actually get your family time back and protect your heart. Because it hurts. It hurts to have a bunch of no-shows. So that's my specific help. It's the 2-minute idea. Wanted to have a 2-minute conversation with you about how I protect my evenings and my heart, right? So, boop, I'm telling you, here's what it's going to take. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Are you open to it, or do you want to pass on it? Are you open to it, or do you have it already figured out? Simple, easy peasy consent. The micro purpose names that tiny intention. And I'm going to tell you that if you stop before you actually add that micro intent, that micro purpose, it's weird. It's weird because imagine, right? Imagine if I said, and let's say I'm voice messaging. I'm like, hey, I saw your story about your consistent no-shows. OMG. Been there. Boop, send. What is she supposed to do with that? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just send that. It all comes together. So there's being weird by being too pushy or spamming. There's also being weird by like not actually taking them through the entire opening clause. So it's super simple. Trigger, event, and warmth, and then consent or permission, and the tiny thing. And a lot of times people are nervous about the tiny thing because you've got a little PTSD from leading with a big thing instead of the tiny thing. That's where a lot of people go off the rails. You aren't having a series of conversations with people, and so you're only connecting with them when you want them to buy from you. Can't do. It's a lot more fun if you are relational. A lot more fun. So just remember, if you've earned the right with context and warmth, it's actually weird if you don't ask permission and then name the tiny thing. Now, I'm not anti-scripts. I'm teaching how to write a script, right? But what I'm anti, not like, is like you use the script, don't be the script, because a lot of people wing it. And when you're not sure about a formula, it's hard to wing it and be consistent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Confidence is up, your confidence is down. And what I want you to know is that these conversations are genuinely uplifting, because even if someone says no, I want you to hear me. If they say no, you have done the good job of letting them know that when they do need you, or when you reach out again, that you are safe to talk to. Scripts are great, and they exist for moments where clarity is required so that you don't botch it up because you don't know what to say. So let's put some of these into practicality. And I want you to know, when we talk about sales DNA, remember your natural style is going to be either talking to people, DMing people, emailing, whatever the flavor is. And I'm guilty of telling people, like, you have to do it this way. But the truth is, as long as you do it your way and you're using a framework, that is the right way. So let's say that I sell weight loss products, or I sell health coaching, and a friend or someone in my social media mentioned that they have hit a weight plateau. So you might DM them and you might say, hey, your post about hitting a weight plateau, so frustrating. I've got a 2-minute tip guide that breaks these stalls without having to add extra gym time or drop calories. Do you want it, or have you already figured this out? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Maybe you're going to send them an email, because that's okay too. You would say in the subject line, plateau breaker, no extra gym time. And then you might say in the body of the note, I'm replying to your note to me about your weight loss stall. If it's helpful, I can send you this one pager that I use to tweak my clients who are in the same situation and restart their progress. So, yes, now or maybe later. Either one works, right? No pressure. No pressure. Pressure doesn't make people buy, FYI. If I were going to voice message them or call them or leave a message, and again, when you leave a message, tone matters. So don't do it when you're cranky or tired or frustrated. So I might say, hey, your comment about your weight plateau really stuck with me. I have a bunch of clients who have experienced the same thing. And when they do, we make just one simple adjustment and then we restart their weight loss. Do you want to know what that is? Easy peasy, right? Let's say I have a business that helps people create extra income. And I happen to notice that someone is commenting about having to go back to daycare or the cost of daycare or something of that nature. I might, again, I could DM, I could voice message. I love a good voice message. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to start with that. Hey, I heard your heart about daycare costing so much. I want to let you know so many people are in the same bucket, and several of us have taking matters into our own hand. I could send you this one pager to show you like what 2 hours a week could look like to create some extra income. Are you open to that, or do you have other things in mind to handle it? Right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I could do the same thing. Hey, your story, DM, your story about daycare rising. Ugh, ugh. Maybe you don't say ugh. I say ugh, and then I plug an emoji in there, right? I have a family first 2 hour a week idea. It doesn't use cold DMs. It's not spammy. It's actually a lot of fun and community based. Are you open to a one pager on it, or do you want to pass? Right? Again, it's so, I have to tell you, when you actually offer to let them off the hook, it doesn't feel like rejection, y'all, because you already said that's one of your choices. One of your choices is yes, the other choice is no. So when they say no, it really shouldn't feel like you were rejected. Maybe someone's relocating and you are a realtor, right? I saw your post about you and your husband relocating in October. Super exciting, but also hectic. I have a 3-step relocation guide. Do you want it, or have you already figured this out? Do you want it, or do you want to pass? Do you want it, or does it just add to your chaos? Like any of those things would work, but it's got to sound like you. You've got to use language you'd use. So if I were to voice message them, I'd be like, hey, right? So look, I'm sing-songing because that's kind of like, hey, congrats on the big move. I am so excited for you, but also know that it can be super hectic. I can share a family-friendly restaurant guide for that area that delivers to your home. So when you get there and you're not sure what you're going to do for food, this guide might come in handy. It's a 2-minute rundown. Do you want it? Can I send it over? Thoughts about, is that helpful or no? Right? You can even say, is it helpful or no? The name of the game here is that the core idea stays the same in all of these different avenues of messaging, but there's some slight nuances in them to make sure that you don't sound pushy or spammy. So let's break that down really quickly. If you're sending DMs, one or two short lines, one job per line should be very simple. Your no-show story, ugh. Sentence 1, 2-minute fix that helped my clients, yes or no. Want it or no? Send it over or pass, right? 2 sentences. Y'all, I know that there's so many people out there that you want to start with hey, how are the kids? How are the family? How are things going? And then you want to jump to, well, the reason I'm calling is like, no, because how are the kids? How are the family? That's not an opener. It's just not. That's not an event-based opener. Now, you could do a similar thing and tie it to the event, but remember, you're calling to extend help. You're not calling to simply have a conversation. And people see through that, and that makes them really uncomfortable. So when I tell you how short and simple this can be, I also want you to think about how much time you're going to save not having to spend exorbitant amounts of time worrying about, is this too long? Is it too short? What should I say? So DMs, 1 or 2 short lines. Emails, the subject should have the benefit. The subject should have the benefit. The body of the email, 3 mini sentences plus your consent, yes or no. So, for example, a subject that has the benefit in it would be reduce your no-shows, and in parentheses, 2-minute fix. That's what I would send. Hope that makes sense. If you're sending a voice message, 10 to 20 seconds, say why you're voicing them, right? Say it, say the trigger event, and then ask permission, state the micro purpose. You can actually mix these up a little bit, which is totally okay as well. So if I were going to text someone, I might say, hey, quick message, your Tuesday cancellations. That post really stuck with me. One tweak that helped me. Want it? Want it? Hey, happy to share one tweak. Let me know. Boop. That's it. And what I didn't do is give them the information. I want to create a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of pull and push, a little bit of relationship building here. Now, if you get into the situation and you're practicing this, and I do want you to practice this starting today, and you feel yourself tightening up and you feel yourself getting weird as you're like mid-sentence, I'm going to give you some safety lines that you can use to keep you human and not like in robot speak. So, and these are things that you can write down and just kind of have on like a sticky note, having a sticky note. So permission-based phrases could be things like open to a quick idea or pass. Can I share, or do you have it figured out? Is it helpful if I share, or do you want to skip? Just make a list of your own of like 3 to 5. And I have to tell you, I use the same ones all the time. Thoughts on proceeding, yes or no? What are your thoughts about checking it out? Yes or no? Same. Because you know what? You don't have to be that crafty. And they're not talking to all your other prospects going, you know what? She gave me the same opener. They don't it's an individual conversation because the context is always different. When you're looking to create choices for them, you want to say things like your call either way, permission, right? Yes or no, both are perfect. If it's later, that's fine. I'll close the loop later. Create some things again that sound like you, but do the job of asking for consent or permission. And remember, your micro purpose has to be time bound. 2 minutes, 1 pager, 7-day sample. And when it comes to aligned values, the way that shows up are things like no hype. I have a no hype approach. I teach a consent first scripting methodology. There are fewer moving parts if I value simplicity. If I know that we value work-life balance, I might say a family first or family friendly, whatever. Or I could say go at your own pace, or I could say community based. So all of those things would signal to someone what my values are. You would hear me definitely lean into no hype. And I've said it like 500 times, non-pushy, non-spammy. Are you picking up what I'm laying down here? Okay. So you've heard a lot. It is your turn to go back and to start tweaking your scripts and using these today. Remember, super simple trigger or context plus warmth, being human, plus your micro purpose, plus consent. Now, I was thinking, what could I give people at the end of of this? Because I love helping out and making things easy for you. And I thought about like, okay, well, I'm going to create a whole scripting guide for you. And then something went, hello, you could just give them an AI prompt. So there's two things that I have to offer you if this kind of thing really floats your boat, and it should. The first is I'm going to put the link below to the unique DNA guide so that you can figure out your unique DNA guide. And then also, if you DM me the word opener, I will send you my custom AI prompt that you can copy and paste. And it uses this exact format and formula. So let's say you're like, I saw something on Instagram and I really want to talk to this person. You can actually copy and paste this prompt into Chat GPT and it tells you what you need to customize in the prompt and it will give you count 'em, three choices. So you'll never be without how to start a conversation ever again. So until next time, listen, Linda, don't make it weird. Make it fun. You can do it. Let's go get it. What we have to offer is so important. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe and leave a comment below.